Hello, stargazers. This is Joe Grida from the Astronomical Society of South Australia, bringing you the sky for the month of February 2021. So let's draw the curtains and see what's happening. Here's our AllSky Map for the evening in February. Let's zoom in a bit so we can see it a bit clearer, and we'll start with the western part of the sky because obviously that's what we lose first in the evening. And constellations like Cetus the Whale, Sculptor are starting, and Aries over in the west we're starting to lose those. They're setting fairly early in the evening. So if there's anything there that you'd like to have a look at, make sure you look at it nice and early in the evening. As we move over towards the southwest, again, stars that we saw in late spring, like Grus the crane and Tucana the toucan, they are starting to get lower in the sky as well. High in the south, we've got the Large Magellanic Cloud and the Small Magellanic Cloud. Right next to the small cloud, NGC 104, or better known as 47 Tuc, the second brightest and most spectacular globular cluster in the sky in my eyes. There's a little kite of stars that you see just there. That is the constellation of Reticulum, the reticle. I'll highlight this here now for you because we'll be talking about an object close to there later on in this presentation. Let's move over to the southeast, and the Southern Cross and the pointers are now getting higher in the early evening sky. That tells me that that summer is certainly well advanced when the Southern Cross is low in the southeast, and we know that summer is well advanced because as we start to look in the east, the autumn constellations are beginning to show, like Hydra the water snake. This is the longest constellation in the whole sky. Corvus the crow is just there, just appearing, and of course another of the really recognizable constellations, Leo the lion. Sorry about that. As we move over to the north, low in the northern sky, we've got Gemini, the twins, and Taurus, the bull, with bright red Aldebaran, and the Pleiades star cluster. For those of you that do have a nice clear northern horizon, you'll even see Capella in Auriga. And for another red star in the northwest, you can't miss Mars. That's still quite visible in our sky. Also high in the sky at the moment, almost overhead, we got the real bright summer constellations of Orion the Hunter, with M42, the Great Nebula in Orion, and Sirius in the constellation of Canis Major, the Great Dog. We've also got Procyon here, which is the small dog, or Canis Minor. These two constellations, these two dogs, are the companions of Orion the Mighty Hunter, who is busily fighting Taurus the bull down here. See, that's the club that Orion is holding in his hand as his shield that he's using to protect himself. These are the horns of the bull right here, of Taurus the bull. And Aldebaran is one of the red eyes of the bull. Right, let's move on. The moon phases for February 2021. For evening observation, best time to observe with no moon in the sky is between the 5th and the 18th of February. We go from last quarter to almost first quarter. So you've got dark skies during the evening there. There's no moon in the sky. And then if you do want to observe when there is a moon up there, you can observe the moon and double stars early in the month over the next couple of days, and then the last 10 days of the month as well, as the moon travels through first quarter and then on to full on the 27th of February. Just over here, here's the phases of the moon. If you have to observe the moon, and I always encourage you to do that during the month, when half the month is taken up by a moon in the sky, you might as well take advantage of it and do observe. The moon's such a close neighbour. You can see the amazing amount of detail on the moon, even with a small telescope. And those of you who watch regularly know that I do like to have a lunar feature of the month, and February being containing a Valentine's Day, I thought we should have a look at a lunar feature called Sinus Amoris, or the Bay of Love. And if you have a look at the picture of the full moon here, the red arrow is pointing where Sinus Amoris is, right here. This is Mare Crisium here, and this is Mare Tranquillitatis over here. There's a close-up of that area taken by Robert Reeves of the US, one of the most accomplished photographers of the moon. This part of the moon is best observed about 4 or 5 days after new moon, so around about the 16th or the 17th of February. That's when the rays of the sun are fairly low angle, so you get lots of good shadow for you to be able to pick up the features very, very nicely. So what can I tell you about Sinus Amoris? As I said earlier, obvious choice for Valentine's Day this month. It's the mountainous area to the northeast of Mare Tranquillitatis. So here's Mare Tranquillitatis. Here's the area that we're talking about. This is being flooded here, but there's quite a mountainous area along here and along this side. Some of the interesting features: Aroma crater here, named after Elias Aroma, a Danish astronomer who determined the speed of light by observing the moons of Jupiter back in the late early 1700s. Sorry, I can't remember exactly the time now, but he determined that the difference between the prediction of where the Galilean moons should be and where they were was the difference in the time it took light to travel to Earth. Litro crater over here. It's been flooded. You can see it's quite flat, flooded by molten magma. Named after an Austrian astronomer, Apollo 17 landed in the valley just below Litro, just here, back in December of 1972. And there's the astronaut Harrison next to a big boulder and one of his lunar rover that they drove around on. The last feature here that I'll highlight is Maraldi crater, 40 kilometers in diameter, and again this one was flooded by molten lava, and we're talking going back 3.5 billion years ago. The planets for February. On the left, we've got the inner solar system. On the right, the outer solar system. And if we look at these two diagrams, it gives us an idea of where we can find the planets in our sky. As you can see here, the Earth is in a fairly good lineup with the Sun, Mercury, and Venus. Therefore, Mercury and Venus are too close to the Sun for us to be able to observe. Mars is still a fair distance away from the Sun, so it's still quite easily visible for us. If we now place our Earth down here, the same applies for the outer solar system. Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto are all lined up behind the Sun, and Neptune is heading exactly the same way. Uranus is still a distance away from the Sun, and we'll come to that in just a second. Okay, some nice sky views coming up this month. February the 19th, the Moon and Mars are 3.5 degrees apart, just in Taurus. Taurus the Bull. Here's orange Aldebaran. You can compare that with orange reddish Mars over here. You've got a Moon only 3.5 degrees away, and they make a nice triangle with the Pleiades star cluster just there. Let's zoom in on that, and you can see the almost first quarter moon just there, and Mars. You'd be able to fit them all within the field of view of a pair of 7 by 50 binoculars very, very easily. Of course, another event is happening on February the 19th. On that evening, you can go out and look at Mars and the Moon. And whilst you're looking at Mars and the Moon, just remember that just 12 hours earlier, the Perseverance rover will have landed on Mars. Hopefully everything goes well. I've got my fingers crossed for them. It's landing around about 6:30 Adelaide time on the morning of Friday, February the 19th. After it has completed a journey of almost 480 million kilometres, it was launched last July from memory, and it's landing at Jezero crater on Mars, and it's carrying with it the first helicopter that will fly on another world. And there's a picture of the helicopter here. After a couple of days of testing the rover and make sure everything's all right, the helicopter will start making some short flights, increasing in length as time goes on. It's landing at Jezero crater. This is a artist's impression of where it's going to land, and you can see all the siltstone here. And it's whilst many of the past missions on Mars have been looking for current possible life on Mars, Perseverance rover will actually be looking for signs of past life on Mars in the layers that have been deposited by water here at Jezero crater. Keep our fingers crossed. As I said, watch the landing live on NASA TV from 5:45 a.m. Adelaide time on Friday, the 19th of February. And if you go to the website here, mars.nasa.gov/Mars2020, you'll get the link to that broadcast. I know I'll definitely be watching. Remember when I showed you the solar system diagrams, and I said that Uranus was still far enough away from our view of it from the Sun that we could still have a look. And as you can see here, it's not that far away from Mars in the sky. And on February the 9th, Uranus has a close encounter with a star of almost equal brightness in Aries. And this is the low power view in a telescope, say around about 45, 50 times. You'll have Uranus here, the star Hipparchos 10-730, and then a little bit further away you've got Hipparchos 10-784. Just keep a bit of perspective. Uranus is 2.9 billion kilometers away in light time, 2 hours and 20 minutes, and it displays a blue color in your telescope or binoculars. HIP 784, which is this star here, is 756 light years away, and a G5 star, very similar to our own sun. And HIP 10-730 is 707 light years away. It's an F3 star, slightly brighter and hotter than our sun, so it's a yellowy white star. And I think the color contrast between the blue and the yellowy white and the lovely yellow golden color of 784 should make a really nice view in a telescope. This is magnitude 5.8. This is HIP 784 is magnitude 4.8, and HIP is 6.8. So there's a difference of 1 magnitude between each of them. So remember February the 9th, but you will need a telescope. I think the separation between these two, the HIP 730 and Uranus, will be less than 5 arc minutes. So you're going to find it difficult to really separate them much in a telescope, in a binoculars. So recommend a telescope for that. A double star for the month, and I don't think that this has any comparison to any other double star in the sky during the summer. The Northerners call it the winter alberio, referring to Beta Cygnus in the northern sky, which they see in their summer, but we see alberio in our winter, and we see H3945 in Canis Major in our summer, so we really should be calling it the summer alberio. Here is Canis Major with Sirius just there. The hind quarter of the Great Dog is just over here, and just below that is where you find H3945. It's also known as 145 Canis Majoris. Let's get a bit of a close-up. See exactly where it is. There it is there, labelled on this map as 145 Canis Majoris. Okay, so what does H3945 look like? You can see the two stars here, sort of a nice golden orange and a beautiful blue star. First catalogued by Sir John Herschel in 1837, whilst he was observing from Cape Town in South Africa in 1837. This diagram on the right shows the view in a telescope. This is very easy to split. The separation between the two stars is around about 29 arc seconds, so easily splittable even with the smallest telescope. The primary, which is the brighter of the two stars, the orange star is a magnitude 4.8 star, 6,273 light years away. The secondary star, the blue one over here, is magnitude 6.8, a blue star with a distance of 258 light years. I can see you scratching your head. They're not physically connected. They are separated by almost 6,000 light years. It's just a line of sight thing, but they are a gorgeous double star, quasi double star to look at. Separation 26.8 arc seconds. Perhaps I shouldn't rely on my memory all of the time. Best magnification to observe it is around about 60 times. That splits the two stars nicely, gives you plenty of black space between them. And the best thing to do to try and bring out the color even more is to defocus the stars slightly. And our own Paul Kerno has described them as stellar citrus and royal blue for the colors of the two stars. And they are truly that. They're gorgeous. I encourage you to go out there and have a look at them. Right. At the beginning of this presentation, I did mention the constellation of Reticulum high in the southern sky, and there it is. There's the little kite of the stars that form Reticulum, or the reticle, from its Latin translation. Here's the small Magellanic Cloud just underneath there, with 47 Tuc, the beautiful globular cluster just there. If we enlarge this area, gives you a better idea of exactly where you are. So here's Reticulum, just there, just underneath Reticulum. There's a galaxy called NGC 1313 that the arrow is pointing to, and that's the center of our attention at the moment. And to its left, over here, we have the large Magellanic Cloud and all the corresponding star clusters and nebulae and everything else associated with the large cloud. So let's have a look at NGC 1313. It is one of my favorite galaxies in the southern sky. And in a long exposure photograph, this is what it looks like. Now, if any of you have had a look at the large Magellanic Cloud before, especially in a pair of binoculars, this would be very, very similar to it. It does look like, to me, a much more distant Magellanic Cloud. Very irregular shaped, very similar to the large cloud over here. Okay, so I've mentioned that it's located in Reticulum. It's a barred irregular galaxy, very much like the large Magellanic Cloud, as I've already said. It was discovered by James Dunlop in 1826, whilst he was observing from the Parramatta Observatory outside of Sydney. This is much more distant than the LMC. LMC is around about 180,000 light years away, whereas NGC 1313 is 12.8 million light years away. As you can see there is a large activity of star forming areas here, and this probably points to a possible merger in the past, where this galaxy may have swallowed up a small companion galaxy, or there was some sort of interaction between a couple of galaxies. It's also a very luminous X-ray source, and it contains a 5,000 solar mass black hole at its center. The apparent size in the sky is reasonably large, 9 by 7 arc minutes. It's almost a third the size of a full moon. So it's quite large. Beautiful view through a 10-inch telescope or larger, especially in a dark sky. I wouldn't recommend this as an easy target for you from the light polluted skies of Adelaide. Of course, unless the images are watching and would like to attempt this one with their cameras from the city. But I certainly would recommend for visual observing do it from a nice dark sky. And I'd just like to remind you that all the screenshots that you see during this presentation are all created with the Stellarium planetarium software. This is available for quite a large range of platforms. I encourage you to download it. It's free for you to use, and I find it an invaluable tool in doing these presentations and many others. Thank you for watching. I hope you do get out there and enjoy the February night sky whilst we've still got nice warm evenings, because as I mentioned earlier, autumn is not that far away. If you would like me to answer a question for you, there's my email address. I encourage you to use it and send me your question. If you'd like more information about the Astronomical Society and its activities, you can find us on our webpage, or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, or also you can find us on our Facebook page as well. With that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again next month.